Okay, so let's look at client number one and what they have going on. So I'm going to read off what they would have put on an intake form, and we're going to assess this client in a couple different ways. Okay, so the client's occupation is accountant. Okay, so immediately that tells me maybe they sit at a desk a lot, maybe they work at a computer a lot. So those are the things that are kind of going through my mind as we begin. Hobbies: video gaming, weightlifting, hiking. So they play video games. Do they play video games on the go? Do they do the video games that require you to get up and move, or do they sit down a lot? Could be a contributing factor to whatever the client has going on. Weightlifting, hiking. So they are physically active in some aspects. Okay, so we got to keep those in mind. Health history: back pain, headaches, numbness, and tingling. So back pain and headaches are a couple of those that a lot of people deal with, and there are many different reasons why somebody might have back pain or headaches, and these are the questions that we're going to have to ask the client. Why do we have the back pain? Why do we have the headaches? Now, numbness and tingling, we have to be a little specific when we're asking the client, where are you experiencing the numbness and the tingling? Is it in the legs? Is it in the hands, the arms? Is it in another part of the body? Let's find out. Okay. Exercise, yes. So the client does exercise. So again, they are physically active. They are putting in physical activity, so that can go a long way in helping their body be in good shape. Okay. Their goals: pain relief. So they're experiencing pain somewhere, and they don't want to experience the pain anymore. And just looking at health history, back pain, that tells us that they're experiencing pain in the back. They're experiencing pain in the head. They also might have pain in other parts of the body because they do activities like lifting weights and hiking. Okay, so those physical activities can be kind of strenuous on the body. So we have to keep that in mind as we're looking over this and saying, okay, are any of these connected? We have to connect things, right? Are these connected? Are these connected? Possibly. Okay, so areas of concern: upper back and neck. So just based on that, I'm assuming that the back pain and headaches are where this client is experiencing the pain the most, and that's where they want the most pain relief. Okay, so let's read the let's go through the verbal intake. So what the client is actually saying to us, when we ask our clients to kind of explain their situation, what is this client saying to us? Okay, client states they experiencing. I can talk, of course. Client states they experience pain in the head, neck, and shoulders, and have pain, slight numbness, and tingling in the arms and hands. Okay, so pain in the head, the neck, and the shoulders, and have pain, slight numbness, and tingling in the arms and hands. Okay, so because there's pain up here, and they have something going on down here in the arms and the hands, the fingers, that tells me there might be some sort of connection. And because we know that nerves coming out of the neck, the brachial plexus, go down into the arm, if they have some sort of issue with tight muscles in the neck, that could be putting a lot of pressure on those nerves of the brachial plexus going down into the arms. So immediately I'm kind of thinking maybe we have a little bit of thoracic outlet syndrome going on. And of course, we're not doctors, we can't diagnose, but we can kind of assume that something like that might be occurring. Okay, of course, we never tell the client, this is what you have. Can't diagnose, of course. But knowing what we know about thoracic outlet syndrome, the scalenes and the pectoralis minor are the muscles that primarily cause that. They put a lot of pressure on the nerves and the blood vessels going down into the arm. They go all the way down into the hands. Okay, and that can cause numbness and tingling sensations. If you're putting pressure on the nerve, you're going to experience a little bit of numbness. Okay, so that's kind of what's going on in my head. Okay, client states they lift weights 3 times a week, hike on weekends, and play handheld video games in their spare time. So again, like I said, are they playing on the go? Are they playing on the move? What are they doing? So this kind of explains a lot of what we're kind of seeing here. Okay, client states they are an accountant working with computers for 40 hours a week. So the client is in front of a computer for an extended period of time. The client is staring at a screen. And we all know about ergonomics and how we kind of position ourselves when we're working on computers and stuff. Now, the client states that that they lift weights. So that's a good thing, of course. Lifting weights, structural strength going on there, and hike on weekends. But they aren't experiencing any pain or anything that's worth mentioning to us as the massage therapist. So I'm less worried about anything going on with that. Okay. They play handheld video games in their spare time. So handheld video games, you're holding the game console, and what do we do? Like with electronic devices, a lot of times we look down, right? Looking down can put a lot of pressure on the neck, and really mess up the curvature in the neck as well. And because the client works at a computer 40 hours a week, I'm kind of used to that too, working at a computer right here, writing this book that you are reading. I'm also kind of guilty of this. I'm always kind of just looking in, right? Now let's do our visual assessment of the client. Like, what do we notice with this client? And you can follow along with my cursor, I believe. Now, just knowing how the client is supposed to look when their vertical axis is in the proper place, the ears should be more in line with the shoulder. Now, because I see the ears forward, I see the head forward, I see the neck forward, everything up here is kind of protracted, brought forward. That tells me that we've got some sort of issue going on with muscles in the neck. Maybe that curvature, that lordotic curve in the cervical vertebrae is kind of gone. Maybe it's all straightening out, which is not good. So we have to think about what's going on with this client, okay? So it looks like the shoulders are fine. Okay, so maybe pec minor, not that big of an issue here. Okay, the shoulders aren't, brought in. They're not overly protracted like you might see with somebody with kyphosis. Okay, looks like the rest of the posture here is normal. There's no noticeable anterior tilt of the pelvis here, but the issue is all right here. So I'm thinking, you're playing those handheld games, right? Your head is down. You're looking at your phone all the time. Your head is down. We got to think about muscles that can flex the head and the neck and pull it in that position. So I'm looking right here at sternocleidomastoid. Now I want to check sternocleidomastoid and see if that muscle is overly tight. Because if bilaterally on both sides that muscle is tight, it's going to pull the head down into the head and neck, get into kind of a flexed position, kind of a fixed flexed position, and that puts a lot of strain on the neck, all of those muscles, all of the structures in the neck, and it can affect everything. Like I said, the brachial plexus comes out of the cervical vertebrae between C4 and C7 right here. So all of those nerves, if those are coming out of the vertebrae right there, and you got all these muscles here, like the scalenes underneath the sternocleidomastoid, if those are tight too, and probably they are, again, that's going to put a lot of pressure on those nerves and cause a lot of issues with everything going down here into the arm. The musculocutaneous nerve, the axillary nerve, the radial nerve back here, ulnar and median nerves. A lot of issues can be covered by that. So just looking at this client, what are we going to do to help this client out? What do you think? Now you can pause this video for a minute and think about it. How are we going to help this client? What are the best things we can do for this client? Now, of course, we can always recommend the client kind of work on their body mechanics when they are working, when they are exercising, when they are playing those video games, those handheld video games. They can adjust their body. They can roll their shoulders back. They can try playing the games in a seated position where they're leaning back and the thing is up here, and it's not very comfortable. But you got to do what you got to do, right? Because if this issue right here persists, you might end up developing something like kyphosis later down the line, which is really hard to kind of come back from at that point, when you're in your older years. Okay, so of course, educating your client on proper body mechanics is always a positive. But as for the massage, what are we going to do? Now, because this muscle is sternocleidomastoid and the scalenes are probably pretty tight, I'm going to work on those muscles, and I want to stretch those muscles out. I want to relax those muscles quite a bit. So a lot of stretching, okay, a lot of massaging those muscles, and of course the neck, especially the anterior triangle of the neck, is an endangerment site, so you're going to be a little gentle with it, but massage those areas, loosen those muscles up, re-educate the client on how to position their body when they are doing work and when they are playing those video games, and you should see some improvement for sure. So the head will start to retract, the neck will start to retract, and hopefully get that curvature back. And something else you can do to recommend to your client, like you put on the plan section of your SOAP notes, is putting a small hand towel. Roll up a hand towel, put it directly behind the neck, and just have the client lie on that for 5-10 minutes every day, and that helps return the curvature, the lordotic curvature of the cervical vertebrae back to where it needs to be, and it helps everything just kind of move back in place. Okay, so I think that's about it as far as this client goes. Now, weightlifting, of course, they might have some issues with that. They might feel a little bit sore based on exercise, just general exercise. You can also work on the quadriceps, the hamstrings, the gastroc, the leg, the tibialis anterior, everything that might be associated with hiking as well. And hiking, you might be carrying a backpack too, so the trapezius might be a little sore. Of course, the upper back, a little sore as well. Oh, something else. When the head and neck are in this position, it's going to move this way, which stretches out the trapezius as well and the levator scapulae. Okay, so those muscles might be a little bit stretched out. So again, returning everything back to where it needs to be can help those muscles loosen up quite a bit too. Okay, so that's client one.